Think of people when you're connecting with them. Could they fall into one of these three categories, the 3C method? Are they a potential client, collaborator, or connector? And being open to exploring and genuinely curious to get to know them is how it starts. We're looking for common ground. Networking is
Mm.
not hard, it's just about finding common ground, shared values, and interests.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets Podcast. I'm Kevin, and today we're joined by Matt Biggar. He's a holistic business coach and the founder of Biggar Together. Welcome to the show, Matt.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. One of my questions for you, I always like to start off with the podcast with the origin story, the lore. And so I'm very curious, how did you get into the whole coaching business? And I think before the podcast, you told me that you started being self-employed around 2017, quite a few years ago. So I'm kind of curious about your journey with that.
Yeah, happy to share. It's been a lot of pivots and changes over the years, and I feel like I've tried just about every strategy or tactic under the sun at this point. I first started with a production business, so I was doing local videography for realtors. And at the time, I was working for a major telecommunications company, and my job was teaching seniors how to use their phones. For 5 years, I sat across from clients in a retail store, and for 45 minutes at a time, I would guide them through texting their grandkids, setting up their iPhones, like doing some of the basic tech stuff that, some of us take for granted. There's definitely a demographic of people that kind of struggle with that stuff. And so that was my job for, on the front lines of a client experience facing initiative. I got to help transform their communication skills. They would come in, buy a phone from a sales rep, and then they would be overwhelmed and intimidated by it. They book a call with me. I'd sit down with them for 45 minutes. They would leave the store feeling like they were empowered to communicate with their family. And communications has always been at the heart of everything that I've cared most about in my career. And so I figured, you know what, video is a really good way to build upon that. And that's why I started this production business. I hired a business coach. I got a little frustrated because I was in his program and I had my foot halfway out the door of my job, right? And so it just led to this friction that made me make the decision that I was going to go all in on my business. And part of some of the process of hiring a coach is alignment. And I didn't understand this in the beginning. So I kind of worked with the first coach that came along, and we weren't aligned. And some of the strategies and tactics that he suggested didn't fit who I was. For example, cold calling realtors to get video production gigs, right? I hated it, but I did it anyways. And some of it worked. But what I found worked better for me was a relationship building process. I wanted to get to know them better and understand their business needs and have that connection with them before making any kind of pitches. I wanted to earn someone's, permission first. And that's what has informed a lot of what we see in our own sales process and the way that we grow our business and the way that we support other clients. And relationship building is at the heart of everything we do. And so regardless of going through over a dozen pivots over the years and realizing, well, I actually want to be the coach that I needed when I was starting my business. I was always looking for mentors or people that could support me in building an online business. And I ended up building this like hustle, grind, local service business, knowing that we wanted to move, right? And so I had to redo everything, restructure it. I would say the lesson that I could share right now from this story that is really helpful for others to know is, when you do go through pivots and changes in your career or your business, it doesn't have to feel like starting over again. And I wish I'd seen this before, because for me it was. Every time I made a change, I'd come up with a product or an offer idea, and then I would dismantle my branding and try to force that so that everything was in alignment from top to bottom, right? But I didn't distinguish the difference between product strategy and branding. And that was one
brand.
of the mistakes that I made.
Wow. That's quite a bit. And so one of the things that you said was like you wanted to be the coach that you wish you had in the beginning. And so, everybody talks about like target audience, ideal client. And so I guess like who do you help? And I'm kind of I have a feeling that it's kind of changed over the years too. Like I would love to see like hear that evolution of who your thought your ideal client is and who it is kind of these days.
Yeah, I started a YouTube channel as a way to stop feeling like I was a hypocrite as a videographer, telling everybody else you got to make video content.
Mm,
And on that YouTube channel, I took this demographic approach, right? Choose your industry, pick your person, give them a label, right? And so I had this theory I could build a YouTube channel that taught coaches, purpose driven coaches specifically, how to create their own video content. And I was
mm,
successful in some areas on my channel, but what happened was I wasn't focused on the right thing. My channel needed a core topic, right? I needed to treat my channel like it was a TV show, not a TV network. And so I fragmented my audience base as a result of
mm,
focusing on purpose driven coaches. And I could not prove that they were the ones who were subscribing to the content. I got the opposite feedback. I actually started to gather a lot of following from hobbyist filmmakers, and I love talking about business. So there became this
mm.
misalignment. And then the more I worked at it, the harder I tried to make content better, the worse it would perform. And so it was like pushing this boulder up a mountain, and it eventually led to burnout. So
Mm,
that's a bit of what informs my approach. And when I say I had to become the version of the person that I needed, that's what I mean by holistic business coaching. It doesn't just focus on external measures like who's your audience, who do you help. It also factors in your internal experience, what you're really great at, your strengths, your values, your purpose. All of that stuff has to come with you, because without it, you end up second guessing your direction. And that's what happened for me. I was always trying to
mm.
figure out this right mixture, and I needed somebody who could support me fully in understanding that your energy levels in your business are equally as important as the offer and the audience that you select.
Yeah, this really hits home for me because actually, I'm not sure if you know, but I actually have a YouTube channel too. And I built this like huge following of pharmacists, but I hated pharmacy. I didn't want to talk about pharmacy, but as a result of talking about that sort of stuff, I attracted that audience and which led to a lot of burnout actually. And so I'm very curious, like I know that you really decided on coaching, but what was it like? I guess what's your unique take on coaching, or why do clients like typically work with you through your perspective?
I think part of it was this unwavering passion for the topic of business strategy that I could not ignore. No matter how
Mm,
many product ideas or branding or pivot resets, the thing that I love talking about the most with people is business strategy, mostly for
mm,
individuals, right? And figuring out all of these different components. So I know that the types of people that I work with, that I thrive with, generally have a slightly bigger business than I do. And they have at least 3 to 5 years of experience. And this was a process of understanding not only who can I best serve, but where is my energy and strengths and skills best applied. So
mm,
I became this coach because I recognize I'm the type of person who really likes to work with the big picture vision for the business and finding out all the ingredients for the recipe of what someone's creating to help them double down and focus in the right areas, because momentum is the thing that is keeping most people stuck. It feels like every Monday it's like a reset. You're starting over again from scratch, and it's really hard to see the progress and wins you're making along the way, right?
mm.
So I think that answers your question.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's actually talk about business for a second, right? I guess like one of the things I love about this podcast is hearing the different business models and what's working, what's not working at different stages, right? And some of our listeners, some of them are starting out, others are scaling teams. So I think it's helpful to hear this full spectrum. I guess where would you consider, we talked a little bit about it before the podcast, but where would you say you are with your coaching journey right now? What kind of phase, I guess, are you in?
I would categorize it as the building phase.
Mm,
before scale can happen. Like, to be perfectly honest, I feel like I've been stuck in that space for a really long time. And it's been these pivots and changes and having these rebrands, right? Because we know we need social proof, testimonials, case studies, tangible results for people. And every time you go through a reset, it's like starting over from scratch, right? And so that's
mm,
been the thing that's kind of kept me in this builder's phase. The truth is, I absolutely love that part of your business. It's not a scaling phase. Obviously, at some point, I want to get there, but there was this process of figuring out, okay, I'll give you an example. We created a group cohort program that would help people develop their own natural way of selling and design a process that fits them and what's authentic for them as being like the North Star for the program. So by the end of the 3 months, they would have confidence and clarity in a repeatable sales process that felt like they were just being themselves and they were leveraging their
mm,
strengths, right? So, but the adjustment is that doesn't work for us. I don't like launches. I don't want to build launches. I don't want to promote other people needing to do launches. I find they're exhausting, right? And a group cohort model requires you to fill seats every time you're going to do another group, right? So I'd put myself on this 3 month cycle of having to do launches constantly. So
yeah.
we're making adjustments and changes, right? And then that scale can come next. But that's a part of it. It's product market fit. Like, you have to figure this part out. I talked about sales on LinkedIn. I educated around it. We shared our perspectives on it for 6 months. And I got nothing but proof that, one, either the algorithm doesn't like the sales content or people just simply aren't interested in consuming that content, right? And so I'm
Yeah.
here telling people you have to sell what other people want and then give them what they need. And then I look at my positioning and I'm like, oh crap. Like, I'm literally positioning myself to talk about what people need, which is they need a
Mm,
sales process if they want to be able to build and scale their business instead of just winging it. And it's a missing component for so many businesses. It's true, but it's not what people want.
that is so true. I think most people have a negative association with sales in general, so it's really interesting. You mentioned different types of models, which I'm really curious about, the cohort-based model and all that. I guess what are the main sources of revenue to your coaching business right now? Which ones have you tried? There's a lot of different like a lot of different containers, like one-on-one
Yeah.
masterminds, courses, group coaching. Like, which ones have you tried and which ones do you like the most?
So, I mean, affiliate income was really fun on YouTube at some
Yeah.
point. It dried up though, however, when I stopped posting videos on my channel. I do have one
Mm,
partner that still pays pretty regularly, which is nice, from content that I posted more than 3 years ago now. And that was my first like online income model. I got a paycheck from Amazon for 36 cents in the mail. Not even kidding. It probably cost them more money to send me that check in the mail than what it was actually worth. But it was something that gave me the confidence that I could do this and move forward with it. The bread and butter of our business right now is definitely one to one. I have clients that I've worked with for more than 2 years, so we have great retention and lifetime value, and customer loyalty, which is very important to us, right? I'm looking for monthly recurring revenue as being the North Star for everything that we do. Otherwise, you're always in the one-to-one fulfillment cycle, right? You start to market, you get some wins, you get some clients, then you drop the ball on the other pieces. This is what an individual will do, right? When you're working as a solo operator in your business. And that is the model I
mm,
love the best. I would call it the business of expertise. One of my favorite
mm.
books by David C. Baker,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
He talked about positioning and niching down in a way that I'd never heard before. And it really unlocked something for me, right? Because most people think that you have to go up this vertical in order to be niched, which starts with industry and demographic. And that never
Mm,
worked for me. And I don't like labeling people. A horizontal positioning is what works best for us. We want to get really good at solving one specific problem for people. And we can make that work for people generally from all walks of life. I like the diversity. We still have the core audience that's dialed in there, but I don't want to have to label them as a way to grow our business, if that makes sense.
yeah. But by the way, that's like the second, not too many people know about that book. that you just mentioned right now. One of my buddies, Chris Stowe, he like loves that book. He like loves the pricing. I think they have a pricing model book too that is like some sort of textbook thing. I have it at home somewhere. But let's talk about the other aspect of like your business as well. Let's talk about marketing. And so, how do people usually find you if they want to work with you and all that? Like, what are your marketing? What kind of marketing have you tried so far?
So I've tried a lot of different stuff. I did the omnipresence. Thank you very much, Gary V, for that advice. And burnt out in 64 days. I literally had a campaign of videos where I posted on 6 platforms every single day for 64 days in a row, which just showed
Oh,
me I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Like, what is my business even at that time? It just revealed so much. And so it was really valuable. I didn't have clear enough focus to make it consistent and have a thread between every piece of content that I was sharing. So
mm,
that was one approach that didn't work, right? And so the answer is you have one platform right now, and that is very much LinkedIn. I've been on this platform since before Microsoft bought it. I don't have the kind of like results that some creators seem to have overnight success with. And that's where all my relationship building happens. My wife, Jamie, is basically the chief connection officer. She spends time networking and having conversations with people with no intention of pitching them, just getting to know them. And what we do is we categorize people in 3 different categories. They're either potential clients, connectors, or collaborators. And what we're doing behind the scenes is Jamie is building relationships with people that could be key partners for our clients. And she's making those connections for them because relationships are so important to our entire business. We want to double down on
mm,
that. This is why we personally would not spend money on ad revenue. I'd take that revenue and I would apply it to celebrating the success of our clients because that's what is so important to us. So LinkedIn is the short answer. I do have aspirations of getting back onto YouTube with a new channel that has the core topic dialed in. We also love the podcasting format, having great conversations like this with people, interviewing guests and sharing wisdom through podcasting. There's so many things we could do, right? I also want to build out a blog that is optimized for AI so that it can be discovered through things like ChatGPT, and I don't have to worry about SEO and cramming keywords in,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
And like we're like the whole world's changing in that regard, and so I want to just build a blog out that answers all the buying questions someone might have if they were considering hiring a holistic business coach or a business coach, for example.
Since you guys focus so much on relationships, I'm kind of curious, how do you get a lot of business from referrals at the moment as well?
That's definitely the bread and butter. Like those introductions come to you warm, right? There's some
Mm,
trust baked into that kind of an interaction. There's less of a warm up process if somebody connects you like that.
mm,
So referrals are a huge part of the business. And my policy on referrals is that as a business owner, there's so much more that you can do to make referrals easier, right? So one of the assets we have our clients create is a referral document that maps out the core challenges that you solve, who it's for,
mm.
you know, what stage they're at, how to make that introduction. And I feel like that's the part that gets dropped for most people when you have networking conversations and they think, oh, yeah, I could connect you with people. And they may have the best intentions, but it's super easy to forget and it's easy enough to not even follow through on it. And so there's a lot that a business owner can do to make that referral process easier. We pair a PDF document with a QR code that goes to a landing
Mm.
page with a video. And that's a really simple system that makes me at least feel like I've done what I possibly can to make it as easy as possible for someone else to send us business.
Which leads me to ask this too. Since you guys are so relational focused, right? It's not like ads where you can turn it on. It's a lot quicker and stuff. And so I'm kind of curious, have you guys faced any challenges with getting new clients or like with marketing in general? And if so, I'd love to hear some of those challenges for you.
I think marketing comes down to works for you. Like, what can you actually sustain versus the advice that we're given, right? So if we go back
Yeah.
to YouTube, I was told be consistent. I bought the YouTube courses from the influencers that I'm sure you know as well, right? I took the programs, I tried their approaches. and I kept pushing through and ignoring this underlying feeling in my gut, my instinct telling me that something's off, something's misaligned, but you just got to go show up and make another video and stay consistent. And that led me to burning out on the channel and completely
Mm.
stopping. Right. So that's one challenge I've had with marketing personally. Also, I think the idea of content marketing has been sold as if your content does not convert, then you're doing it wrong, which kind of I just don't agree with, because there's also an element of self-expression and personal discovery that comes alongside sharing what's on your, in your heart. What do you need to get out there and share with people? And if you miss that part and you're always focused on the conversion tactics, that it's just you end up in the sea of sameness of everybody else. You're not really standing out, right? So it's a practice of expression and sharing your beliefs and values in the content. And obviously, we want to make content that resonates with others.
Mhm.
But in terms of like finding clients, if you're building relationships and you do this consistently over years, you can create your own opportunities without needing to post constantly or work on the content treadmill that can be very exhausting, right? LinkedIn is a good example. Love the platform, but your posts die within 3 days. Right. And I think they've been
Yeah.
making adjustments to try to give it more longevity. It doesn't work like YouTube. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely for sure. You know what's really what's really funny as you're talking about like conversion content. I always talking to my good YouTube friends, and we always have the same discussions how brands, they always want like, oh yeah, high view counts, high conversions and all that sort of stuff. But then as the creator point of view, sometimes you just want content that just like hits the feels, or like that's the most memorable content in my opinion sometimes. And so there's like always a what I notice with a lot of YouTubers is when they start taking on brand deals, it starts like almost tainting the content a little bit, and people burn
Hmm.
out. I did want to ask you this, since you've gone through so many pivots, with this next pivot, where do you want your coaching business to take you in the next few years? Do you have any like secret big dreams, big ambitions, or anything like that? I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, lifestyle is a huge part of why I even started a business in the first place, right?
Mm,
And so, some of our goals, we'd love to build a house, and where we live, like the real estate market is cost prohibitive compared to where we used to live, right? And so we want to build our own home, and it's going to be expensive to do that,
mm,
right? And so I would love for our business to supplement that dream, that aspiration. I know that just buying a home is not the right approach for us, right? We have these visions and like ideas and things that we really like to create for an environment for ourselves, and just buying a home is not going to do that. So that's one of the things that sort of drives, our goals and what we'd like to be able to accomplish in the next like 3 to 5 years. I want to
mhm,
keep things lean and simple as possible, and like fulfillment, enjoyment is a non-negotiable. I'm not saying I want everything to be super easy and not do any hard work. I love working hard. What matters is choosing the right challenge for the business, right? And showing up in a way that leverages our strengths. So, having a repeatable, evergreen group coaching program that can scale with multiple members is a huge priority for us right now, to avoid the cycle of launches and the energy drains and always having to go back to square one and start getting enrollments for a group cohort. And maybe we explore that again later, right?
mhm,
So it's not just financial goals, it's also making sure that we're able to do this in a way that works for the life that we want. Jamie and I love to take off in the afternoon and go play around at disc golf or go paddle boarding. We want our weekends off. We want to be able to travel, right? And so
mhm.
these different aspects of desired lifestyle have to be baked into the business strategy. Otherwise, you end up building the wrong thing.
It's really interesting because in my time of business, right, like I've met everyone from the ClickFunnels gurus who want to scale to the moon and stuff, and I've seen people scale really quickly, only to find that they wish that they had the lifestyle stuff to begin with. It's like that classic like fisherman story, the fishing story that people talk about, where it's like, oh yeah, why do you want to like? It's with the Do you know what story I'm talking about with the businessman? And he's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, like
Teach a man to
yeah.
fish.
So yeah, kind of. It's like, oh yeah, you can make a business out of it. And he's like, dude, I'm happy already. Like, leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's a problem with chasing passion, right? And
Yeah.
this is a lesson that I needed. This is back when I first started my video production business. I had a
Mm.
mentor suggest that I read this book, Be So Good They Can't Ignore You by Cal
Yep.
Newport. Right. And he
Yeah.
teaches this, like, if you chase your passions, you end up maybe building the wrong thing. You try to turn your passions into something that you hate, is usually what happens for
Mm.
a lot of people. And that's not the total solution. I really feel like if you have passion for your subject matter and it's something you could talk about forever and you find that alignment with what an audience needs and wants, then you've got that sweet spot figured out. Right. And so
Mm.
that's what I would suggest is like passion's really important. It is a component. We don't ignore it, but maybe don't try to turn that into your business.
Yeah. Okay, let's play a game. It seems like from our conversation you've invested some things into your coaching business and all that. And so let's play this game, good investment, bad investment. So curious about the worst investment that you wish you got your money back from for your coaching business, and then the best one that you ever made, if you're open to it.
Yeah, you bet. Oh, I will say there is a silver lining. That's the caveat. Biggest mistake or just waste of money was investing in a group coaching program that didn't have a lot of substance as my first experience with a business coach who didn't have the
Mm.
type of business that I wanted to build. There was misalignment in a number of areas, and it was a $26,000 investment. The biggest lesson I learned from
Wow.
that was, how do I pay for this? Right? It lit a fire under my ass. I had to grab my camera. I had to cold call realtors. I pushed myself into a situation where there was so much pressure and it was going against what was authentic for me that I was causing all of this stress, which eventually led to my first experience with burnout. Right. And so in hindsight, it was a powerful lesson because it helped inform who I became, although it would be nice to get a refund.
Yeah. Is that also your best investment, since it kind of like showed you like
I've had,
what is your best investment?
yeah, best investment is actually coaching and support with other
Mhm.
people who I was very aligned with. Earlier this
Mm.
year, my wife, she quit her job in the end of last year. We sold our home in Calgary. We decided to move to BC in the middle of winter. She didn't have job opportunities to
Mhm.
continue with her existing company in this market. And so she had to leave, which was hard for
Mm.
her. And she, over the years, I mentioned 2017 is when I started this entire business journey. She was there supporting me and letting me figure things out and discovering more of who I am through this process of, business is the ultimate personal development plan, by the way.
Mhm.
So I wanted to give her the space for the same thing to give back and help her figure this out for herself. And so when she came on board, number one, I wasn't gonna like my domain, everything branding, it was all under personal branding. I was MatthewBiggar.com. And it would like how ridiculous would it be for Jamie to join that? And then her email would be jamie@MatthewBiggar.com. Like, no, this isn't right. We need some support. So there's a couple of people we hired this year that were our best investments. Number one, Sandra,
Mm.
she does branding and positioning for thought leaders. And so she helped us. I loved her process because she was very in depth in her discovery, right? Most people who do that type of work, they don't want all your stuff. She wanted a Google Drive folder with all of the stuff that I created, the templates, the frameworks, the documents, imagery, everything, so that she could get a better feel for what my
Mm.
strengths were. And then she had conversations, like just really robust discovery, right? Which
Mm.
made us feel understood. And that's where Bigger Together came from. And it was the first time anybody ever suggested a play on our last name that I actually felt like it was really good. Mostly sleazy
Yeah.
ideas that people have shared in the past, right? Like bigger is better. Like that's what I should do with my branding. Like, no, I'm sorry. It's going to places I don't want to go. Okay. First of all, right? So positioning support was really critical for us, and we came up with a much better brand. We both feel awesome at because we can be more of ourselves and it's not performative.
Mm,
It's not inauthentic. It's literally we just get to share the wisdom from the trenches of what we're learning and building along the way. Best
mm,
investment. And then the other one is holistic business coaching. I wanted to work with
mm,
someone who would understand my own approach, right? I want to support the entire person behind the business, whether that's spiritually or business strategy, energy, like what do you focus on? All of that stuff really fits in. And so it was like a breath of fresh air for me to find someone else who values some of those same things. We had alignment and we worked with her for
mm,
6 months and it was fantastic. She really helped Jamie and I come together and work together more effectively. And she, guided us through the challenges. What she could see obviously was going to happen as a couple who lives and works together in the same home. Right. And so we
mm.
both feel like we've really figured out how do we bring our strengths to the table. And we want the same thing for our clients as well. So those were the best investments. And that happened in the last 6 months.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like the silver lining too of the worst investment too. It's quite interesting. And in the back of my mind too, like that worst investment question, how did you like you've gone through so many pivots, right? Like how do you recover during those periods of burnout, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just have to give yourself space, right? I had
Mm,
to stop uploading YouTube videos so that I could really figure out my business, right?
mm,
Intentional space. I also think that something that's a part of our new group format that a lot of people can benefit from is creating an inventory of all of your wins and starting to recognize those, right? Shit's going to be frustrating. You're going to hit challenges. It's an inevitability. How do you keep going
mm,
and persevering through those? Well, it's not getting caught up and stuck in those spaces. It's how you learn to flip the switch and get back to a great state of mind and
mm,
energy. You have to be in the right being to be creative and solve problems, right? So burning out and stress is a red flag for any kind of creativity, problem solving, focus, cognitive abilities. All of these things play a factor, right? And so do what you need to do to get the rest and clarity in order to sustain yourself over a long time. It's what's helped me persevere for so long and be resilient through all of those changes and pivots.
Last question. If you had to start over tomorrow, knock on wood, zero followers, zero clients, your business goes under, but you have all the knowledge that you have now, what would you do in the first 90 days to rebuild your practice?
First of all, hopefully I have some connections, right? I don't know what I
Yeah,
would do.
your LinkedIn gets banned.
Yeah, I'm like stuck off of LinkedIn. I mean, I've got phone numbers, right? I got contacts, I got emails. I can still connect with people. That's always going to be my strategy, no matter how many, changes, evolutions we go through. It's going to come back
Yeah.
down to that. Having really good supportive people in your network is completely underrated. And I would leverage that, right? Collaborators. What kind of an opportunity could I make an offer alongside somebody else that I'm aligned with? That would probably be my approach. I want the most amount
Mm,
of like momentum and leverage as quick as possible in the beginning to test and fail, right? To see what's working. And instead of building on assumptions and guessing what's going to work and focusing on the wrong things, I would bake connection and relationship building into the strategy, right? So
mm.
that's probably a longer answer for what I would do, but it would first start with conversations, with connections. If I was banned off of a platform and there was no way for me to access that, I mean, I think I'd probably try to recover it first, be honest, but you know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
probably. That's logical, yeah. Um, for someone who's listening to this though, let's say they don't have a lot of connections and stuff, what's your best advice on like starting those conversations?
Yeah, I think it really, I mean, you mentioned Chris too earlier, he calls himself a loud introvert. That's something I always
Yep.
appreciate about him. I do think that like my approach to business growth is not going to work for everybody. You have to
Mm,
be at least somewhat willing and open to do networking and without any expectations, which is the hard part, right? People go to sales process, lead gen, and mass pitching over DMs because they want the predictability and they want
mm,
that process. And my way of building a business requires more trust in the unknown that you're going to naturally attract opportunities into your life and business by being more of yourself and also showing up with the energy of giving and not
Mm,
expecting, right? And that stuff spills over into sales conversations. We all know this, right? If you need clients and you're trying to pitch or force or talk to people and overcome objections when they're not necessarily ready, it's just not the way that I want to grow. And so if that way doesn't work for you, then try the relationship building process. Think of people when you're connecting with them, could they fall into one of these three categories, the 3C method? Are they a potential client, collaborator, or connector? And being open to exploring and genuinely curious to get to know them is how it starts. We're looking for common ground. Networking is
mm.
not hard. It's just about finding common ground, shared values and interests. And that's why I put all this Star Wars and nerdy stuff in the background and Atomic Habits, right? This is a pillar. That's why it's there. I just chose it on purpose. And it's a conversation starter. And so that's what I would suggest for people, even if you're a little bit introverted, if you know that mass pitching isn't going to be the way that you're going to grow your business, which I honestly feel like is getting slower to be. We don't have to go on a tangent about that right now, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, like when we first started the podcast too, I was like looking at all your books. I see Good to Great. I see all the like I have the same books like in my main like Vegas studio and stuff too.
Yeah, and it's like if you
Okay.
think about it, this is a really natural conversation because we have shared
Yeah.
interests, right? Business of expertise, atomic habits. These are some of the
Yeah.
things that, we have
Sith
common
Lord,
ground with. Yeah,
I'm just a Sith Lord during my free time too, so
nice.
cool. How Matt, how can people find you and connect with you?
Yeah, I mean, if anybody wants to learn more about us, we're pretty active on LinkedIn. I would suggest check out our website, biggartogether.com, BIGGAR together.com. And I'll be making some updates on there, but that's a really great way to find out a little bit more about what we're all about.
Cool. Thank you again, Matt, for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Kevin. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.